Muy buenas tardes. En este momento tenemos una entrevista con Bill Stinnet, fundador de Sales Excellence Incorporated. Bill Stinnet es presidente y fundador de Sales Excellence Incorporated, una organización global de capacitación y consultoría que ayuda a las empresas de todos los tamaños a hacer crecer su base de clientes, aumentar los ingresos y mantener sus utilidades. Bill comenzó su carrera en las ventas en retail. Pasó varios años en las ventas directas a los consumidores privados y finalmente se trasladó a las ventas corporativas a los clientes de Fortune 1000, que es la lista de las compañías más grandes de Estados Unidos. Durante más de 20 años, Bill se ha especializado en la venta de soluciones de alta tecnología y ventas complejas. Él ha ocupado cargos de ventas y de gerencia de ventas en algunas de las mayores empresas de soluciones tecnológicas del mundo, como Computer Associates, Pilot Software, ahora parte de SAP, y J.D. Edwards Company, ahora parte de Oracle Corporation. Ahora vamos a darle la bienvenida a Bill Stinnet y vamos a pasar esta entrevista al inglés. Bill, good afternoon. Thank you very much for agreeing to this interview with us. We know this is the first interview you will have for the Latino and Hispanic audience, and we are very excited about it.
Buenos dias, my friend. Thank you very much for inviting me here.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much to be part of this interview. Bill, I have my first question for you is, Bill, tell us about how you start your career in writing so great sales books, and what motivated you to start this successful company and career as an author, international speaker, and trainer with Sales Excellence International?
Well, that's a big question, my friend. I think there's a lot that goes into the answer. I don't know if we have time to tell you the whole story. But, you know, I got involved in sales. I actually took my first job in sales and retail sales when I was 14 years old. I got involved in direct sales in college. I was a very poor college student and had to have some way to make money. And after a few years of that direct sales experience, I decided to pursue a corporate sales career. And then in 2001, I decided I wanted to start a training company. I had had an opportunity to take a lot of sales training, read a lot of books and so forth on the topic. It just really fit me perfect. And I thought, I'm gonna start a company helping other salespeople learn to do some of the things that I've learned how to do. And so that's what started it.
Great. Thank you, Bill, for your answer. Bill, our second question is, tell us, how do you understand the sales and customer have changed after this great pandemic of COVID-19? Tell us how the new environment will be affect the sales reps.
Yeah, really good question. So when I started the business in 2001, I took a lot of experience that I had, as I said, in corporate sales and developed some training programs primarily for business-to-business sales. Selling to executives was kind of the strong suit, or where I was kind of focused. I published a couple of books, as you mentioned, in those early days. First one is called Think Like Your Customer, then Selling Results, and spent, gosh, almost 20 years doing training around this methodology that we developed for a lot of great companies. But as you well know, in the past 2 to 3 years, the ground has really shifted beneath our feet. And while the truths of selling haven't really changed at all, in my opinion, how we have to interact with clients has changed because the buying behavior on the customer side has changed. So a lot of this was brought about, no doubt, through the pandemic experience, because so many of us were forced to start working from home and living from home, if you will. I really believe, though, that was just an acceleration of the natural adoption of technology that would have taken place anyway. But because it was accelerated to that degree, buyers really changed their behavior in the way that they interact with salespeople. And while I think even before the pandemic experience, we were seeing it was more challenging to get customers' attention, now, with so many people working from home and getting used to using video conference and other forms of digital communication, they haven't been as is comfortable meeting with people or just haven't done that as much over the past couple of years, I'm finding for most of my clients, they're having a very, very difficult time booking appointments to go see customers. And ironically, even a more difficult time getting people live on the telephone or on video conference. Now, you wouldn't think so because you can't catch COVID across a video camera, but there's this natural resistance that kind of has come into place in the business world where customers or our prospective customers are less likely to want to have a sales conversation unless they already know that they might need something that salesperson company can represent. What this means is that we have to shift the way we engage with them. We get to know them, but just as importantly, how we enable our customers to get to know us has to change because buyer behavior has changed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great explanation, Bill, about this. What is happening in the last 2 or 3 years, how the business have changed, how the environment has changed, or right now with all the stuff with inflation and wars and increase of the oil pricing, all this environment cause a disruption in the market, and the customers are looking for a new ways or new form, innovative form to could solve this problem. And as mentioned, as well, the technology, as some technology teams allows to compete in the same field as the largest competitors in your market. Previously was very difficult to do it. Right. Because they gain the access with the decision makers, with the people, and they can go to have lunch and discuss business. But right now, using the digital assets, you can reach people that before was almost impossible. Indeed, in these 2 years of pandemic, I closed some, maybe one of the largest deals I have in my entire career, that it will be almost impossible in the previous year. But thank you, Bill, for your answer. It's very illustrative about what is going on and what is the challenge that the sales rep will be confronting in the next year. Indeed. And Bill, I have another question for you. Bill, we know you are releasing your third book on sales, so other bestseller, the Digital Selling Handbook. We have an access to the manuscript, and it really is great. It's a fantastic book. I won't reveal anything about it, but can you tell us more about this book? Why you decide to write it, and how the sales rep will be benefit from reading it? I understand that you took more than 2 years preparing, searching, investigating in order to write this book. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, I must say, as I mentioned, there was a shift that was beginning even before the pandemic started to happen around this difficult to access time or FaceTime with clients. People started to recognize that they didn't want to maybe meet with salespeople as often face-to-face. I think that we've just adopted a very busy culture, even globally. I mean, even in the United States, has always been a very fast-paced, crazy-paced lifestyle. But I think even globally, people were evolving to a place where it was difficult to really just get our customers' attention. Well, I knew even before the pandemic came along that I wanted to start embracing and understanding how could we use technology, things like LinkedIn and Slack and other technology tools, even Twitter, Facebook, whatever other tools might be available, to WhatsApp, to interact with customers other than just traditional telephone or email or going over to visit them face-to-face. So as I started to prepare and research this, it became very obvious that this was obviously going to be the future. But then as the pandemic started to happen, it's like suddenly the future is now. And so it caused me to shift my own work. I always like to say that everything that I write and create in the way of training is based on my own experience. I'm still as involved in sales here at my company, Sales Excellence, as I was the day I started. I choose to be, because I feel like that how can I really advise my clients on what it is to sell in today's environment if I'm not out there doing it myself? And so I had to change the way I was gaining access to clients and doing business and so forth. So I began to just really study a lot of the most successful online businesses, online companies, to see how could we take some of what's being learned in terms of these internet-based companies and bring that into more mainstream business-to-business sales. So that's what this book is really about, is how do we incorporate a lot of the latest in terms of best practices for online selling and bring that into a more mainline business-to-business environment. One of the things, for example, what happens is that a lot of what an online business does with their clients, or almost all of it, is what I refer to as asynchronous selling. Asynchronous means that it happens not in real time. If I speak to somebody on the phone or see them face to face, we're talking, we're interacting synchronously. But asynchronous selling means that I am going to write something or record something on video, audio, some other format, send it to somebody or post it someplace, and they're going to consume it at some minutes or hours or even years later. So this asynchronous manner of selling, I believe, is the future of selling. And those of us in sales have to embrace this. And so while in the past, I think what made a salesperson great was their ability to talk and their ability to, the gift of gab, I think that Americans would call this, right? The ability to have conversations with clients and so forth. That's still the best way to sell, no doubt about it. But our opportunities to do that have been minimized greatly. So in the future, the most valuable asset is not going to be just necessarily the talking. Our most valuable skill set in sales is going to be our writing abilities and our ability to record video that's compelling. And here's the reason why, Cesar. Because in the past, I could simply ask for an appointment to meet with a client, and then I could go to meet them or get on the phone or a video conference and do some selling. That's when I could do my selling. Today, we have to do some selling before they even agree to the conversation. Mm-hmm. So that means the selling has to happen asynchronously to persuade them that it's worthwhile to have a conversation with me so that we can take things a layer deeper.
Absolutely. Like in this Netflix area, Netflix time, yes, all the person wants to see first, who is this guy, who kind of value is adding to the question, because always I think I remember that the most difficult sale is to get 30 minutes or 1 hour from your customer or your prospect time. Right now it's busy than ever, with meetings with this technology make an expansion of the timing, like they start to work early and they maybe they finish to work later than supposedly to be when all we were working on the in pre-pandemic time. And right now is more difficult to get the time of the prospect or the customer. You need to add a lot of value. I remember using your techniques of prospecting by email. It works terrific in this pandemic time because I have meetings, because the people read what I was providing. I provide as well blog or white papers or information that I think it will be valuable to them before they even ask me about that. Mm-hmm. And start to create a perception or a vision about how will be the interaction with me. For sure, it will make easier to have a meeting because they know me like the guy who will be providing assets, providing information, providing a new vision before even they think about they need to change. That is great to know that when the new ways, it will be allowed to have better writing skills for the sales reps and to be more like an actor in front of a video in order to a video recording as a small recorded video. Great news about that, and very, very, very interesting how the new technology will be added into our sales process, Bill.
Yeah. So I have read a statistic, Cesar. This is one of the things that really opened my eyes to what we have, the change we have to make as sales professionals. I read a statistic, a little story that came out from Gartner about a year and a half ago. And it stated that the typical business to business sales buying process, a company that's going to go buy something of substance in a B2B setting, they spend about 17% of their time actually talking with would-be suppliers or providers or vendors, if you will. That means the other 83% of their time, they're doing things like online research, internal meetings, due diligence, steps they have to take internally, working through their buying process, et cetera. And if you take that and think about that 17% of the time, if they're talking, let's say, to maybe 3 different providers, that means that any individual provider may only get as little as 5 or 6% of the customer's attention during their entire buying process. So when I read that statistic, I thought to myself, that is incredible. Think about that. That means that if we're not using digital assets in the form of video or something in writing or audio or graphic, if we're not providing information that the customer can consume on their own time and can be part of their online research and due diligence, then we lose the ability to have an influence and to persuade during 94% of their buying process.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, that scared me to death when I thought about that. 94% we have no influence over. If the only selling we do is when we get them live on the phone or in person, we basically have almost no influence. So we have to think about, what are they doing then during that other 94% of their time? They're reading things online. They're watching video on YouTube. They're doing other kinds of research. Here's my question. If they would rather go and read a blog post or search something on LinkedIn or go ask some peers in a Slack group or look at YouTube, the question is who's making the videos? Who's on LinkedIn posting about what it is that they want to learn? Who's part of that Slack group that now they're a part of and they're collaborating with and working with, that they're going to learn from? If we're not willing to get into these digital conversations that are already happening with their peer groups online, if we're not willing to get in those conversations, we're basically irrelevant. And I just feel like we have to really change dramatically here if we're going to keep up with the times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great information and completely a new word in sales right now. Before, the most people try to know if we get a meeting with this guy. No, I know this guy, but right now, even if your relative, your brother, is very difficult to get a time on his or her agenda, not to discuss about business, because they are extremely busy. And the way how you are, Gartner mentioned, and you are articulating, it will mean that we will be more ready or more available to write content, to create content, in order to can influence through this 6% of the time in the sales process. It means like if one customer spend 100 days, business days evaluating, you can only make an influence on him 6 days. No,
Exactly.
It's like
exactly. So here's let's think about it though, because I think when people hear this, they feel like, well, I don't have an elaborate, studio, a television studio to shoot videos in. Gee, I'm not a professional writer. That's not what we're talking about here. In today's environment, people are consuming information, and they like most of this information. They like it better when it's very raw and natural and not presumptive and flashy and high production. They prefer a video shot with a phone, just a simple little video, or something that you type up on your phone and post it to LinkedIn. We're getting past the day when people are expecting this to be a pretty polished, beautiful presentation. My favorite way, for example, to approach new clients, if I happen to be already connected with them on LinkedIn, is to utilize sending a short video right through the LinkedIn app. Now, if you don't have a connection with them on LinkedIn, you can send an email and you can still use video. You can take the video with your phone. There are some great applications out there. One's called Vidyard. One's called Loom, LOOM.com. If you want to explore those, there's some great tools that can allow you to capture information via video. And let me explain how this can be used. I think that when we think of digital selling, that we think of it as social selling or what we would do to just make friends and attract customers. But that's just the very surface of this. There are many things that we would say or information that we would provide throughout the customer's entire buying cycle that we could provide in a digital asset. So here's what I encourage salespeople to do. Think about all the things that you would say to your customer, or even the questions that you would ask of your customer through a process if you were sitting face-to-face with them the entire time. Think about that, sit down, map out all the conversations that might happen, all the information, what presentations would you give, what knowledge would you share, what stories would you tell, that kind of thing. And then ask yourself, how can I digitize as much of that as possible? How can I take what I would share and what I would communicate to the client and digitize that in writing, video, audio, graphic, some other format that I could be sharing with them? So part of this would be then released to attract customers through social media and that type of thing. But another part of it would be used throughout the buying process to just continue to engage the customer in between conversations. Cesar, can I give a firsthand example? Is that okay with you?
Yes.
So I reached out to a very high-level executive at a Fortune 10. This is a pretty big company, Fortune 10 company, to ask them to provide an endorsement for the new book, the Digital Selling Handbook. So he wrote back via email to me. We had a little bit of email exchange, and that led us to a telephone call or a video conference. So I had 15 minutes on video conference with this gentleman, but he asked me a couple of questions that I wanted to provide some information to, but he didn't have time to listen to it. So I recorded a video of me answering the 2 or 3 questions that he had and sent the video to him. He watched the video. He asked a couple of more questions. I replied back and forth. That led us to a second live video conversation, which again was just 20 minutes long, but now that's led to some more email correspondence. And I have another appointment now to speak with him live again. This one's going to be for an hour. So here's the point I'm trying to make. Do you see what happened here? I'm continuing the sales. I'm continuing to work with him, answer questions and communicate and literally sell through this process. But a large part of it is happening asynchronously. I'm providing information, he's consuming it, he's responding back. And let me tell you why this is so important right now. You said it earlier, our customers are just too busy. They just don't have time in their day to book another 30-minute or a 60-minute slot to have a conversation with us. So we have to break down what we would normally tell, say, or communicate into smaller chunks, offer it to them in an asynchronous fashion so they can consume it while they're, I don't know, on lunch break, late at night, while after they put the kids to bed. They can consume this on their phone anytime, day or night, and then reply to us. We're going to have to learn to sell the way our customers want to buy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In this area of video, the people is likes to see, 2-3 minutes, that to read a long email about what are you doing is better, and the people are more visual maybe, and they get the information faster using video. And yes, it's incredible how the technology is changing completely the sales framework, or the sales environment with this technology, or this asynchronic sales. It's like I love to know more about that and to know that what is all the potential in the future for sales. Bill, I have some more questions for you. Bill, you are one of the first American authors, sales author, bestseller sales author, to want to directly help the Latin sales world, the Latin American sales world and the Hispanic sales world with exclusive material in Spanish. In fact, your first book, Sell Like Your Customer, Piensa Como Tu Cliente, has been translated into Spanish in 10 years or 15 years ago. Tell us more about why you got interested in Latin American sales audience.
Well, I'm interested in every sales audience, honestly, my friend. You know, as we've discussed, I intend to make this book, the Digital Selling Handbook, also will someday be available in Spanish. My publisher will drive that, and so I don't really know the timetable of it, but I hope that someday soon that will be available in Spanish. I'm going to take a lot of what's in this book and create shorter articles that I can publish, and we'll translate those into Spanish and make those available to people. I intend to create a lot of e-learning around the same subject matter. We're going to translate that, and that'll be available in Spanish as well. I feel a special draw to the Latin American market because I see such tremendous opportunity there. And I really want to pour into that community and help them with information that, as you said, it's really underserved. I think that market has been. But I was even thinking earlier today, I want to translate this into many other languages, French and German and Japanese and Chinese, etc., as we go, which we will. But I'm really excited about the Latin America market. I know there's so much potential there and so many people that really want and need the help. And so I would say that this is a step in the right direction. And if they kind of stay tuned to you and our work together, Cesar, I know we'll have a lot of good things coming for them in the future.
Absolutely, Bill. I am very excited about your method, your new material, because I know that even one part of my success as sales rep in Mexico, in Latin America, has been because I read your books in English. They have a great content, great material. I met personally when you arrived to Mexico, like 15 years ago, 2007.
Yeah.
And you delivered your first workshop here in Mexico, and it was and as I mentioned, that was the best year in the history of the company in more than 15 years. I like the same kind of the result for other companies in Latin America. As I mentioned, maybe previously, there is a shortcut in good material, no, from Latino sales authors, but it will be great to have one of the the best sales trainer with one of the best sales methodologies in the world, no, because sales and Selling Power magazine, no, gave you some awards in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And
it will be great to have your method available for the people in Latin America. It will be increase the productivity and the efficiency of the sales teams in Latin America. I am very excited about that. I am very excited about to help in this purpose, in this matter.
That's great.
And I have some Bill, we have a question for the audience.
Yes.
We know you have one of the best sales methodologies in the world. We want to know what motivates you to choose or my company, Neumann Sales Consulting, and myself to represent you in the Hispanic world, in the Latin American world.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, well, no, Cesar, we have a long-standing relationship, as you well know. I appreciated from the very beginning when Think Like Your Customer, my first book was released. You were always a very strong supporter of that, very instrumental in bringing me to Mexico. The first time have helped me a lot through the years, helping co-deliver. I know that we've stood up and presented together at a number of companies over the years, and you've traveled around the world delivering workshops for sales excellence. And so it's just been my privilege, honestly, to partner with you to bring more and more of this information and material to the Spanish-speaking markets, as you said, in Latin America, but also in Europe as well. And so I'm just looking forward to the partnership, my friend. A lot more. Here's to many more years serving this community and helping them in every way that we can.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's the same. It's my pleasure and an honor to work with you. You're such a great author with great ideas about selling. I am very, very, very excited about the possibilities to bring all this information to the new generations of sales reps, no, or even the older one, no,
Right.
we have to improve the skills.
Right.
Yeah.
Even us old dogs are going to have to learn some new tricks, my friend, because otherwise we're going to be left behind. That's one of the things that I see I'm really passionate about, is helping people who've been doing this for 20 or 25 years also make the transition to selling in the digital world. Because if we don't, we're going to be really absolutely irrelevant in the next couple of years. Customers, companies have changed the way they buy. If we don't change the way we sell, we will be summarily left behind. And I just don't want to see that happen to anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the great words and great feelings. Bill, thank you for that. Just to help them with this transition, no, from the selling in the analogic world to selling in the digital world.
Right.
No? Like
exactly.
Yeah. And Bill, finally, we have a final question for you.
Okay.
We are finishing this great interview. Tell us a little about your future plans in the wonderful world of sales and sales training.
Okay. Wow. Well, thanks for asking. So as I mentioned, the digital selling handbook is probably, I think this has tremendous reach because it's just such in demand right now. I think a lot of people are finding themselves a little bit uncomfortable with the new world that we find ourselves in. Selling the way that we sold 3 years ago does not have the same effectiveness as it once did. Just sending out email, for example, we're not getting the response rates that we expected. Telephone calls, we're ending up in voicemail or no mail so often, and very few return phone calls, etc. So my goal is to make this available as broadly as I can. But here's one thing I want to mention that I think is really important, is that not just our customers are more busy than they've ever been, every salesperson is too. So working from home and just seems like the workload that has been placed on us over these last couple of years. Let me give you an example. I was just texting back and forth with a brand new client of mine just a few minutes ago. We had a scheduled appointment this afternoon, and he called and said, Bill, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cancel this. I'm double booked this afternoon, but I'll make myself available to you anytime you want over the weekend so we can have further our conversation. So he's literally going to talk with me, probably looks like Saturday night. I think we're going to set up either 6 or 7 p.m. Saturday to have a conversation that he can't fit in during the week. And so I'm going to do that, right? As a sales guy, I'm willing to, I've already made the sale. I'm supporting him now in the rollout of this. But the point I'm trying to make is that we have got ourselves maxed out, and every salesperson is also maxed out. For that reason, many salespeople, and especially sales managers who would hire, buy training for their teams, don't want people to take time out of the sales day for training. So what we're going to be doing a lot going forward, and what we're going to be focused on with this book, is to break this down into very small bite-sized chunks, little 3, 4, no more than 5-minute long videos with a specific little nugget of learning. I call it a little learning capsule that's combined with a little challenge to go out and use what was learned. So here's a little bite of knowledge. Here's a challenge for how to go out and use that, and now go out and apply that. And we're planning to drop these like every Tuesday morning. For a new salesperson that's enrolled in our programs, we'll get a little short video with a challenge attached to break this down, rather than taking maybe a day out for training, which is what we've done in the past. We're still doing that for those companies that want to and are willing to. I still think that's a great way to train. But as an alternative, we're going to break this down into smaller pieces, just the same way that we're doing for our clients. Break this down into smaller pieces for our learners so they can learn a little bit, apply it, learn a little bit, apply it without having to take hours or days out of their lives to come to a training class.
Great. No, I like, awesome. Really awesome to have all this word. And then I try to understand that maybe in the future or by right now, it will be easier to reach a prospect or customer on weekend, on Saturday, in order to talk, because they don't have time on the work week. And I learn or I read about that in some cases to reach executives, C-level executive. So sometimes it's better to reach them on Saturday morning, because they are reading, and answering emails and getting messages.
It's crazy, and nobody wants to do this. Everybody would rather not work on the weekend. I mean, everybody wants to have Fridays off, right? We all want to go to a 4-day work week. But I mentioned that tomorrow I'll be speaking with my client, probably 6 or 7 p.m. on a Saturday night. I forgot to mention that in the process of reaching out for endorsements for my new book, I reached out to a gentleman who I know who's recently been promoted to president of a large division of a company headquartered in Finland. He manages probably, I'd say, at least $100 million business as the president of this division around Europe. And when I approached him about this, he said, Bill, I'd be happy to talk to you about this. Send me a copy so I can review it. But the only time I have to talk with you would be on Saturday afternoon. So it will be 9 a.m. for me Saturday morning, tomorrow morning. But he's going to be talking to me 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon from Austria. And he's going to make the time to talk to me at 3 p.m. Saturday. So there's an example of a president of a very large corporation who's making that time to speak on a Saturday. It's becoming the reality if we want to catch people live. I just want to see if we can create more of this asynchronous communication so I don't have to tie up people's Saturdays if I don't have to. I want to give them the weekend off. So that means we need to get better at using digital assets to do part of our selling.
Yeah, well, it's like, yes, it's totally agree with you. And yes, thank you for your great ideas and all the information you are sharing with us. Thank you very much, Bill, for your time, your knowledge, your experience that you brought to us in this great interview. And see you next time, my friend.
Thank you very much, Cesar. Love you, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Love you. See you soon, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.